Hello everybody, my name is Nemo and the program we're looking at right now is called Cockatrice. And if you've ever been looking for a way to play Magic the Gathering and be able to play all the cards and everything and be able to make all your decks with any cards you want, then this is the program for you. This is what you probably should be using. If you don't want to be using Magic Online, this is a third-party program, so it's a little bit... there could obviously be bugs, but it's pretty cool. Multimeteor has recently hosted a tournament with 8 players, mostly just as a test tournament. There's going to be a bigger tournament coming up, and I was in that first tournament, so I'm going to be uploading videos about that tournament. It's over by now. We didn't want to upload any videos before the tournament was over, because we didn't want anybody to know what cards people were playing and stuff like that. So obviously me and Multimeteor were in that tournament. So we'll both be uploading videos, and he'll also be uploading, aside from the videos from the matches he played, he'll also upload the semifinals and the finals matches. So that'll be very cool. You should totally check his channel out. And indeed, if you're interested in doing a sealed draft, which is what this is, a sealed draft tournament as well, then you'll be pleased to know that he'll be hosting another Sealed Draft tournament pretty soon now. And there'll be a link in this video, probably in the top right and also in the description, to a video where he talks about all of that. And the tournament will be called Crashing Gates. And that tournament will be about Gate Crash. And I believe also just the Return to Ravnica set as well. But this tournament we played was before Gate Crash came out, so there's no Gate Crash in this one. And instead, so a sealed draft tournament is basically you get about, I think eight booster packs in total. And in this one it was a little bit special, as the sealed draft was just Ravnica in general. So basically, the Return to Ravnica set, and we would each get at least 3 Return to Ravnica booster packs, and as well we would be able to see the first Return to Ravnica booster pack, and from that be able to choose some of the other booster packs we wanted to get. And from among these we would be able to choose from the original Ravnica sets, 3 original Ravnica sets, as well as Return to Ravnica, so the original Ravnica block and the Return to Ravnica set. So from this, the first booster I got, so you'd have 120 cards in total, and you'd be able to build decks out of these. And from these decks, I would build, the idea was to build 2 decks from all these cards, and 1 main deck, and we'd have a backup deck in case the matchup was just unwinnable with the main deck or something. It was a terrible matchup. Then you'd be able to have a backup deck, and that might work out well for you. In my case, I didn't really end up using my backup deck too much, but you'll see as the tournament progresses, I guess. I'm right now 120 cards. I'm looking at just the cards I got from the booster packs, and I'll show you the decks I made out of them in a second. So I won't be talking about these cards too much. I'm hearing an airplane fly over pretty low, so that might be recorded. Anyways, so basically, from my first booster pack, I saw quite a bit of Izzet Guildgate, so I thought I'd be in Izzet, so I pretty much chose to get mostly more Return to Ravnica booster packs, because this is the first any kind of draft I've done. This is the first time I've played anything outside of just Duels of the Planeswalkers when it comes to Magic, so I didn't want to make it too complicated for me, but I did choose to get 2, I think, 2 of the second set of the original Ravnica block, and 1 of the first, which was Ravnica City of Guilds, and the second set, I can't really remember the name, sorry. I'm not that familiar with the format, so, we'll see that I learn throughout this tournament as well, so that's pretty cool. Of course, the commentary on the tournament is going to be post live, because this, as you have to do everything manually in this game, just like you would be if you were playing Magic in real life. It can get a bit tedious and slow, so I'll be doing a lot of editing, kind of similar to Daisho if you know him, when he does his live drafting. So that'll be interesting, and I'll do some after the fact commentary on it. I always have trouble thinking, post is after the fact, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. Post and pre, whatever. Anyway, so I got a pretty cool chromatic lantern here. I got some mana fixing in Orzhov. Didn't really have too many good Orzhov cards, however. I got mana fixing in Selesnya. Obviously, I had the mana fixing in Izzet. And here's another Orzhov card, Overgrown Tomb, which is green-black. I had another Guildgate for Selesnya. I had an Azorius Guildgate, but that's pretty much the only fixing I have for blue-white, so... I also had a Gruul Turf. Gruul wasn't really an option for me from the cards I got. So basically, aside from this, I got some cool cards. This is pretty much one of the very few Orzhov cards I had, so wasn't really that much of an option to me. I'm going to over these pretty fast right now, so you can make a little bit of a general idea just looking at the colors. What kind of cards I got, and if you really want to look at them, then you can pause. But as I show you the deck builds in a second, I'll be a little bit more in depth about what each of the cards do and why I chose them for the deck. So for now, not too much in depth, but this is pretty much my card pool, the cards I got out of the booster packs and what I had to work with. Vitu-Ghazi Guildmage is pretty cool. I got an Utvara Hellkite, which I think is a mythic rare, so that's awesome. Not really an amazing creature or anything, it's an 8 cost, but you know, cool stuff. If this was real Magic, it might be worth something, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people who play all the dragons ever made, so then there's, just some enchantments right here. Knightly Valor is pretty good. Necromancer's Mage Mark is decent, I think. Necromantic First is a pretty good card. I'm now running one of them in Rogue's Gallery. It's basically a removal spell, because you can play it on your opponent's creatures, which is something I may have realized at first, but just didn't realize how good that is for a deck that kind of has pretty bad removal spells in general. So, you know, it helps, because playing this on my opponent's creature means he doesn't want to attack me, because if he deals me common damage, I get to get one of my dudes back from the graveyard, and the deck does not lack good creatures, or at least, I mean, some of the creatures are pretty bad, but then there's others who are really good, so if you have got one of those in the graveyard, he definitely won't be attacking you. So then it's basically pacifism for 4 mana, which is expensive, but hey, I mean, it does something. it's actual removal, I guess. So when it comes to that, it can get rid of guys that have more than 3 toughness. So not too bad, and occasionally you get to play it on your dude and just get insane value out of it. So it's a decent card when it comes to that, and that's why I'm running one of them in Rogue's Gallery now. So pretty good card in general. Underworld Connections, very good card. It fuels mono black decks pretty much, because mono black traditionally has trouble where it ends up 1-for-1ing when it plays a control deck, and being able to draw cards is really good. So this card, if you would go mono black, which I wouldn't recommend in a format like this, because it's all about the guilds, which means that most creatures are dual color anyway. So Ravnica. So anyways, but it's a pretty cool card either way. Annihilating Fighter, just good removal right here. Some Rakdos. I had some pretty cool Rakdos card. Didn't end up going Rakdos, but was definitely an option for me. Common Bond is pretty useful. These are permanent counters, by the way, so that's really good. Downsize, just some Izzet kind of cards, I guess. Dramatic Rescue is not terrible. Pretty good tempo play, I guess, and you gain some life. So why not? Dyna Charge, more Izzet stuff. Explosive Impact, little more expensive than we're used to for these kind of cards, right? But this is a slower format than Duels the Planeswalkers, so it's still a pretty decent card. And that's something I had to get used to too, is the format being pretty slow. So yeah, some more combat tricks right here. I won't be talking about them too much. I'll mostly be going into detail about them anyways. So, and my mana fixing again, and some sorceries right here. Castigate was in there. Yeah. So, anyways, I'll just show you the decks I ended up playing right now, and this was my main deck. Was a Sundering Centaurs is what I call it, I guess. It was the Selesnya deck. I made a few different decks just to see what they would look like eventually, and ended up going with this as my main deck, and I'll show you my my secondary deck as well. But yeah, so some color fixing in Chromatic Lantern, Selesnya Key Runes, and the Selesnya Guild Gate meant that I was pretty confident playing this deck and thinking that I'd be able to get all my lands out and be able to play all my spells and all that, which is, you know, always important in any dual color deck or just any deck in general. In fact, the color fixing was so good, you know, looking at it now, I'm used to the Duels of Planeswalkers format where it's faster, and having only 4 color fixing is kind of, you know, already troublesome at times with dual color decks. So I'd hardly want to then go and make this a 3 color deck in that format. But in this format, that's something I had to really learn, is that that's actually not that terrible, and I'd probably, for my 3rd color, have at least 1 more mana fixer in there. So going 3 color would not have been a terrible idea, and it's in fact something that a lot of people do in the Ravnica Draft format, either the original or this one. So, or the Return to Ravnica block. So yeah, that was an option that I didn't really take that seriously because I didn't think I had the mana fixing to do it. But, you know, I had Chromatic Lantern and I think I could have done it. On the other hand, however, my Selesnya deck, the green-white was very powerful, and that's why I went with this. But there wasn't really a color combination that did too much in combination with green or white. So I didn't have like good blue-green or blue-white or black-white or black-green cards or anything like that. So I don't think this deck would have benefited too much from being 3 color, but certainly my secondary deck would have benefited from it, and we'll get to that in a second, I guess. So Azorius Arrestor has the Detain ability, which is kind of similar. If you've played Duels 2012, then you'll remember, of course, Hookmaster, which came in and tapped the dude and wouldn't untap on their turn. So this is basically the same thing, except they don't get to attack or block. But it mostly does the same thing. Not that much difference. And this guy is a 2-cost guy. So he comes in, prevents them from blocking on your turn, prevents them from attacking on their turn, and then when it becomes your turn again, the effect ends. So yeah, pretty good for 2-cost, 2/1, you know. Quite a good card. Definitely helps push in some damage early on and make you the aggressive deck, and that's really what you want to be doing. Centaur Healer, very nice, if you're on the back foot especially. He's just a 3/3 for 3 mana, which is never bad, and he gains you 3 life, so great bonus there. Centaur Herald, you may be wondering what's the point of just playing this instead of just playing a 3/3. The point is that this makes you a token 3/3, and Selesnya has ways of making tokens powerful in this set, so that's why playing this guy is better than just playing a 3/3. And I had 2 of these, so kinda nice. Fencing Ace, I had some combat tricks, and Double Strike is very powerful with combat tricks, but even if you don't, he's still, at least, he's dealing 2 damage, you know, for a 2-drop, so he's never that bad. And with combat tricks, he can get pretty nutty. Gore Clan Savage, I thought this guy was pretty bad, because at the most he's going to be a 5/6, and that's only if you get his effect to work, and otherwise he's a 2/3 for 5 mana, which, you know, meh. That's not really what I've come to expect from 5-drops with the Duels of the Planeswalker series, but in this format, slower format, less powerful cards, he's pretty good. You know, a 5/6 in draft is pretty big, actually. So this guy has done some work for me. Didn't expect it, but hey, better than I thought he'd be. Judge's Familiar is a 1/1 for 1 mana, and slows them down a bit. I hardly ever got to use his ability, but that means that they're playing around him, so that's already good. Phantom General, again, with the tokens, this guy makes them bigger. He is normally not a great card. I don't value him too highly, but in this deck he did work out well for me, since I do run quite a bit of tokens. So my tokens get bigger, why not, you know. Silhana Ledgewalker, yeah, just a 1/1 for 2 mana, but it is unblockable. Sometimes you get to do some crazy trickery with the fact that it's unblockable. Getting in with unblockables in the format like this turns out to be not as bad as I thought it would be, so that's pretty decent, but certainly I would have rather had a 2/2 for 2 mana here. But unfortunately I had to, I didn't have all the cards I would have wanted to have, but I didn't have to, it wasn't that bad. Like, if this is the only card I would have wished was a little bit better, then I was pretty fine, and there was not really that much of a need to go 3 color in this deck. Skargan Pitskulk is a 2/2 for 1 mana most of the time, because you're probably going to get Bloodthirst going, especially if you got an unblockable, of course. And sometimes he's bigger, because I do have some Comet Trickery, and people won't be able to block it if I use that stuff. So again, just like the Silhana Ledgewalker and the Fencing Ace, the Comet Tricks work really well on these guys, and that's why they're pretty useful to me. Even though they may not be the most powerful drops normally. Vitu-Ghazi Guildmage is just insane for this deck. Being able to populate and being able to do it repeatedly is ridiculous in a token deck. So populate is the green-white mechanic in the recent set, which is that you get to copy a token you already have and make another one of those. So that's really awesome, and that's why the free freeze, these guys are great, because they become tokens rather than just playing a free for free mana. So that's why having tokens in Selesnya is powerful, and Selesnya being the green-white deck guild, if you're unfamiliar. So yeah, and if you don't already have a token for 6 mana, you can make a token. I know that's expensive, but it's a nice backup plan, you know. While Beastmaster I thought would be a little bit better than it turned out to be. I thought my deck was more aggressive than it was. Wasn't always the case. And if you're on the back foot, then you don't want to have a 1/1. But if you're attacking with this guy, he's really amazing. If you're attacking with multiple creatures, and if you're attacking with unblockables and stuff like that, could be really good. Could easily help you push through the remaining damage. And with Comet Tricks on this guy pre-combat and then attacking, then the Comet Trick suddenly works for your entire team on the attack. Of course, it's no longer really a trick, but you're dealing a lot of damage then. So that's what makes her, I should say, useful to me. But didn't always work out too well. I still think it was a nice inclusion, however. Avenging Arrow, gotta have some kill spells. Common Bond, these are permanent counters, so again, really great on Wild Beastmaster, really great on Fencing Ace, basically. Those are really the targets I wanna hit with these and give them permanent counters. But it's a Comet Trick, and my guys stay bigger, you know, and that actually works really, really well. And I had 2 of these, and I was very, very pleased with these. Gather Courage, also really nice. Convoke means that you will be able to play this for 0 mana if you tap a green creature, in this case. But basically the ability means that you can play a spell for less mana, for the amount of creatures you tap, that much less mana, and they have to be the color of the mana you're, you know, not paying then, I guess. So basically, if I tap a green creature, I can play this for 0 mana. And that means it's a really nice trick if I'm tapped out. They won't be expecting it. But also, just being a 1 or 0 mana cost combat trick was really nice for me. I really like this card because I sometimes had trouble being a deck that had kind of a bit of... I almost want to say I had too many combat tricks and not enough creatures. So I had trouble where sometimes I needed to play a creature, but I really also needed to use a combat trick in the same turn. And then being able to use the combat trick and play the creature, because your combat trick is cheap like this, is really, really useful to you. So that's why I really like that card. Gaze of the Gorgon, just, you know, your guy doesn't die, their guy does die. So amazing combat trick, basically. This is what you want to do with a combat trick, and this ensures that it happens. So really good. Rootborne Defenses, there's that keyword again, populate. Other than that, this card, even without the populate, is already pretty useful because it's a one-sided fog effect. your guys become indestructible, but their guys don't. So you can just block and kill their guys, but they won't be able to kill your guys. Really, really good. And aside from that, you also get to populate and get an extra dude. So really good. And you populate before you make your guys indestructible, so whatever you populate is also indestructible, I think, is how that works. So yeah, just really useful. Scatter the seeds, make more tokens. Not the most amazing tokens, they're just 1/1s. Of course, with Phantom General, they're 2/2s, and then they're pretty good. But yeah, even if they're just chump blockers, having 3 chump blockers is pretty good, and you can convoke it, so it's not 5 mana to play it. So that was useful to me at times. Wild Size, useful combat trick, and it draws me another card, but I don't want to draw this instead of a creature when I need a creature. So I had another one, but it's in the sideboard because I didn't really figure playing 2 of these was a good idea. And sometimes it worked out well for me, other times not always the case. If I needed a creature instead, so I think having one was, yeah, I think it was good, but maybe it would have been better to play a creature instead. I mean, this is card advantage, but tempo advantage is also important, Anyway, so my lands, of course, Rogue's Passage was a useful extra land, and I had this, of course, in my secondary deck as well, because you can just add this to any deck you want, and it'll hardly ever screw you over, and occasionally you get to just kill somebody because you can make your big dude unblockable. So really nice bonus land, I guess. Guildgate, of course. The Guildgates in the Ravnica format, Return to Ravnica format, enter the battlefield tapped, but they're you can tap them for either color you want, so they're mana fixing. So yeah, they do the same thing as the SAG lands would, except you don't actually get to take a land out of your deck. So it doesn't thin your deck or shuffle your deck, but other than that, it does pretty much the same thing as the cards you're used to from Duels the Planeswalkers. It really has the same impact on the board as it enters the battlefield. So yeah. Predatory Focus is of course a win condition, which is why I ran it, which is also a reason I thought that the Selesnya deck would be pretty good, is because I actually had a win condition in the deck, which it was like, if I cast this and things align, I can actually just kill them straight up. It's kind of like a worse overrun, I guess, because it doesn't pump your creatures, but then again, making them unblockable, pretty much, I guess, doesn't really make them unblockable, but, you play this if you're killing them with it, so it doesn't really matter in that sense. So, of course, that's better than giving your guys trample, but it doesn't give them the +3/+3 that Overrun would. So yeah, basically you count your power, the combined power of all your creatures, and you count the number of life your opponent has, and if the combined power of your creatures is equal to or greater than the amount of life your opponent has, then Predatory Focus ends the game for you. So that's cool. Of course, sometimes you'll end up being in a situation where you draw this early instead of a creature, and then sometimes in the draft format you really get into board stalls a lot, which is something I didn't really expect that much. So that made this card not as useful as I thought it would be, because the board stalls meant that sometimes I just couldn't get in the initial damage so that I could then kill them with Predatory Focus. So that's a little bit annoying. And then I was losing on board because I had Predatory Focus instead of a creature. So not always that useful. But theoretically, it's a win condition. So then we get to my sideboard here. This is basically Enchantment Destruction and a dude in one. Pretty nice. And I think I cited this in a few times, not just against enchantments, but also because sometimes I was kind of getting sick of the Silhana Ledgewalker or Skargan Pitfiend, Pitskulk not always being a 2/2 or doing something. So this guy is actually a 2/2 for 2 mana, so I actually think it may be a better inclusion anyways, but oh well. Selesnya Sagittars, I never really like this. You can block multiple creatures with it. I don't know, like 2 power is not that high. If you're on the back foot, then this can save you, but only stalls. So I don't know. I don't really see the purpose of this card, but maybe I'm really wrong about it. Never really ended up siding it in either. But I guess, I would side it in if I was in a very defensive position. If my opponent was playing a much more aggressive deck than I am, then it might make sense to side this in. Of course, only if he's playing more aggressively by having more creatures than me. Anyway, Stonefair Crocodile, I also think I should have just main decked. Something I didn't realize about it is that with the Chromatic Lantern, I can actually just use that ability even though I don't run swamps. So if I have Chromatic Lantern out, and I had that in a lot of games actually. I don't know why, I kept drawing it. So this should have probably just been a main deck card. It's a 3/2 for 3 mana, which is pretty decent. Decent body. And then the ability, I would actually be able to use it once in a blue moon with the Chromatic Lantern. So why not, Vessel Soul is a little bit heavy under white, which is why I didn't run this guy. Conclave's Blessing is just a bad card. I was pretty much just looking for cards to fill up the remaining spots in my sideboard. That wasn't really anything I really wanted, and I would never side this in. I just think it's a terrible card. Knightly Valor is, I sided this in quite a lot of times. It gives me more guys, and makes one of my guys bigger. So it's actually a pretty decent card, and the reason I didn't main deck it at first was because, 5 mana is a lot, but as I've learned, the format is slower than Duels the Planeswalkers, so it's not as bad as you'd think. Seeds of Strength, I didn't run this because I had Common Bond instead, and those are permanent counters. But if I didn't, then I might have run Seeds of Strength. Sundering Grove, destroy target artifact or enchantment, populate. Pretty good. If they run heavy artifacts or enchantments, then I could have sided this in. Wild Size, there's the extra Wild Size I didn't run. Withstand is not that great. It's basically a Fog and then draw a card. Cantrip Fog for 3 mana, not that great. Meh. And doesn't really prevent everything either, so only prevents 3 to 1 source. Forest and Plains extra, because just in case I miscalculated on lands and needed more lands or something, then I had those in there because I didn't really know what else to put in those spots anyway. So Benediction of Moon is just a terrible card in general. I don't really see this being useful even in a free-for-all format or something. But whatever, it's white, so sideboard material, maybe, I don't know. Didn't have anything else I wanted in there, so so let's look at my secondary deck I used in this tournament. And you'll be seeing these tournament videos come up, so that's pretty cool. Chromatic Lantern, of course, again, also in this deck. And this deck is the Izzet I ended up making, and with the 3 Izzet gates. So and that's why I went for Izzet, because I had good mana fixing in this. So I made this the backup just in case the mana fixing in Selesnya ended up not being as good as I thought it was. I had to learn. I'm not used to the format, so I wanted to have a backup like that. Crosstown Courier, basically just a 2/1 for 2 mana. It does some stuff, but I don't really mill anybody with this deck, so it doesn't matter. Goblin Electromancer, 2/2 for 2 mana, pretty good. Makes my spells cheaper. Why not? Grayscaled Gariel. So this is one of the reasons I think I made a mistake in making this a dual color deck. And this probably would have been better as a 3 color deck, because this guy is just unplayable. 1/1 for 1. He's just terrible. So I think what I should have done is make this a Grixis deck, which is red, blue, black, rather than just a red-blue deck. And I think that would have been better, because I did have some pretty powerful black card, as well as some pretty powerful Rakdos cards, red-black cards. So I think that would have worked out much better for me. But unfortunately, I didn't decide to do that, as I was unfamiliar with the format, and how good the mana fixing would work out for me. Izzet Guildmage, of course, much better. A 2/2 for 2 mana is already good, and he does some stuff with spells every once in a blue moon. Pretty good. Judge is familiar to 1/1 for 1 mana, and I've talked about this before. The only difference here is I'm playing it for the blue mana rather than the white. Ogre Savant is a really expensive mana war, pretty much. But, you know, slower format, so it's decent. Tenement Crasher, 5/4 haste. I ran 2 of these. Yeah, just big guys are pretty good in this format, actually. So why not? And haste means they get in turn 6 rather than turn 7. Tibor and Lumia, a legendary creature. Yeah, this is probably a pretty good card. I didn't really get the chance to try it or anything, but probably a really good card. And if you get to play some spells, then you can easily turn a game into your advantage with a card like this. Tower Drake, yeah, not amazing. Again, I could actually use his ability with the Chromatic Lantern, but other than that, it's just a 2/1 flying for 3 mana. So again, these are the kind of cards I'm not too thrilled playing, but I had to play them in this deck because I made it a dual color deck and didn't really have all the creatures I would want to have. So this is another reason why you maybe want to play a 3-color deck instead. So you can have some more powerful creatures, more choice, and don't have to run weaklings like this. Utvar Hellkite, yeah, not that great. 8 mana is a lot, even in draft, so didn't really get to use this guy. But hey, he's awesome, right? Just wanted him in the deck because he's awesome. Viashino Racketeer, 3 cost, 2/1, yeah, a little bit slow, and he does some stuff. But, meh. Mainly just another dude. And here's some great removal. Here's some combat trickery. Overload is a pretty nice Izzet ability pretty much on your spells, where if you overload a spell, it replaces target with the word each. So this reads target creature you don't control gets -4/-0 until end of turn. If you overload it, it would read each creature you don't control gets -1, -4/-0 until end of turn. So then this kind of card is maybe pretty useful, but I'd rather run more Annihilating Fires than Downsizes, of course, but hey, you don't always get to pick your cards that much. So yeah, 2 of these. I even have 1 more in the sideboard that, you know, it would be crazy to run 3 of them. Dyna Charge, again a card with Overload, which makes it a pretty nice combat trick. Yep. Explosive Impact, yeah, I think I talked about this before already. But yeah, it's a more expensive, I guess, Lava Axe. Not really, you can hit creatures with it and it's instant, but yeah, slower, but in slower format. Doesn't matter that much that it's that slower. So it's pretty good either way, and just nice removal. Reroute, never got to use this thing, because there's not a lot of stuff with activated abilities in this format. So, yeah, especially not stuff you can actually reroute and change the target of. So, yeah, didn't really think of that, but, you know, it's one of those cards where if it works, it's awesome, because you also draw a card and you do some craziness, so really good advantage to you, but, you know, you don't always really get to use it, because there's not a lot of stuff that you can actually use it on in the draft format. So, yeah, would have rather probably had something else. But I wanted to run a bit more instants, because I have stuff like Izzet Guildmage and Goblin Electromancer that want me to play spells, actually. So, yeah, that's why it's in there mainly. But yeah, I didn't really like the card. Street Spasm. This is pretty much a one-sided Wrath effect in best case scenario. And otherwise you remove 1 creature. It's just Heat Ray, or I guess Red Sun Zenith. And sometimes you overload it and do some craziness. Island is at Guildgate and Mountains, and again the Rogue Passage. I'm running a little bit more Mountains than Islands, because I run more red spells than blue spells, and also because of Siege of Towers, which might have turned my Mountains into 3/1 creatures. And of course, late game, this is amazing. This just ends the game for you, because you're going to just get a billion 3/1 dudes and be able to win the game with that. So, nice cards for late game, not that amazing early game. mid game and terrible early game. Yeah. Inaction Injunction is it detains something and it draws you a card. So why not? It's a cantrip. So then the sideboard, more artifact destruction, defender in case I need to be defensive, I guess. Isperia Skywatch, another thing with detain that I could be running instead of the Tenement Crashers, but I really think the Tenement Crashers are just better because they're bigger. Vessel Souls, yeah. Again, I need to spend 2 blue on it, and maybe I don't have 2 blue, so not really excited about cards like that, unless you're actually playing Azorius, blue-white. Fencer's Mage Mark could have been decent, but +1/+1 is not enough, I don't think. And I'd rather just play more creatures than this, so... but, I mean, if you have multiple Mage Marks, and that's another thing about if I was playing Grixis, there's also a black Mage Mark I had, which would combo with this thing, because they would pretty much make each other bigger, the enchanted creature that is, so that would have worked, perhaps, but yeah, just as one enchantment, as one of, like, this thing makes other enchantments better, but I don't have other enchantments, so, yeah. And there's the other downsize, Psychic Spiral, in case someone wants to mill me, I guess. Whatever, more spots I didn't really have cards for in the sideboard, so, stuff I would never run anyways. And more Artifact Destruction, draws a card, nice. More lands, cause, why not? Just in case I was wrong about my mana curve, I might want to bring him some lands. Why not? So those are my decks. The Selesnya deck is my main deck, and I would bring this in if I was in trouble with the Selesnya deck. Was the idea? In general, I think the Selesnya deck was way better than this deck, and this deck could have been better if I played it as Grixis. If I had actually added black, because I had some pretty good black cards, not in the least Underworld Connections, and some pretty powerful actual red-black cards. So if I was running that, this deck might have been better, but unfortunately I wasn't, and the Selesnya deck was my main deck. Selesnya was pretty powerful for me. You'll see how I did with it in the draft format. Man, I've been talking for at least half an hour now, so I think I'm going to say goodbye for now. So if you want to check out the new draft coming up, head on over to Multimeteor's video or channel. Link will be in the description, probably in the annotations in the top right corner right now as well. So go check that out, and I'll see you in the tournament. And look forward to the videos coming up about this tournament as well. So yeah. Hope you enjoyed this. My name's been Nemo, and I will still be Nemo next time, and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Peace.